The key to mastering anything in life is to show up, day in and day out, no matter how you feel. If you want to change your life, change your habits, and stay consistent with them, no matter the obstacles. What if you could stop making excuses and show up every single day, no matter how you feel? What if consistency wasn't a struggle but a natural part of your routine? What if you could stop letting distractions and doubts stand in your way and truly build the habits that lead to success? Imagine the life you could create if you made the choice to be consistent every day without hesitation. You've probably told yourself time and time again that you'll get serious, that you'll be more disciplined, but it hasn't happened. Why is that? What's holding you back from sticking to your goals and turning your dreams into reality? It's not about motivation, it's about training your mind, your habits, and your decisions. Consistency is the key to success, but it requires more than just trying harder. It requires a shift in how you approach your life, your choices, and your actions. Now let's dive in. Number 1, force yourself to show up even when it hurts. There will be days when everything inside you screams to stay in bed, when your mind tells you it's too much, when your body feels tired, when your heart is heavy, and when nothing seems to go your way. Those are the days that test who you really are. Those are the moments that ask a question. Will you still show up? Showing up when it hurts is not about being perfect. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about strength. It's about the decision to not give in. Not every day will feel good. Not every task will feel easy. But success does not wait for your feelings to catch up. Success responds to your actions. And action is always a choice. If you only show up when you feel great, you're not really consistent. You're convenient. Consistency means you do it regardless. You do it with the same intensity on the hard days as you do on the easy ones. You do it when your mind is clouded, when your confidence is low, when your energy is drained, and when nothing is cheering you on. Because that's when it counts. That's when you're building something most people never do. Real inner strength. Every time you show up when it's painful, you train your character, you develop resilience. You become more than someone who starts things. You become someone who finishes them. You stop being led by your emotions and start leading them. You take control of your future one painful day at a time. That's the price of growth. And you need to pay that price over and over again. Most people fold under pressure. They say not today. They promise to return tomorrow. But here's the truth. They never do. They fall into a cycle of delay and regret. They build a habit of avoidance. The more they give in to the pain, the easier it becomes to skip the next thing and the one after that, until months go by and nothing has changed. But you don't want that. You want to build the kind of life that means something, that requires you to stand up when everything says sit down. I've been around long enough to know that the world doesn't reward your excuses. It rewards your effort. You can talk about your goals all day long, but it's what you do that makes the difference. So even if you're hurt, even if you're tired, even if you're full of doubt, show up. Maybe your best today is not as strong as your best yesterday. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you gave what you had. You stood up, you showed up, you did not run from your responsibility. That's discipline. That's what shapes your future. You don't get strong by sitting out. You get strong by staying in. You get strong by taking another step when your legs are shaking. You get strong by pushing through your discomfort and proving to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. Consistency through pain is what builds belief. You don't wake up confident. You earn that confidence through repeated action, through showing up when it's raining outside, when you've got no applause, no cheerleaders, nothing but your inner voice pushing you forward. You see, most people don't fail because they're not talented. They fail because they stop. They take breaks that turn into habits. They rest when they should press. They say tomorrow when the truth is, tomorrow is just another excuse waiting to happen. But if you can just show up, if you can just walk through the pain without turning away, you separate yourself from 90% of the world. Because 90% are waiting to feel better. You're moving anyway. You want to transform your life, then stop negotiating with pain. Stop making deals with weakness. Say to yourself, this hurts, but I'm still doing it. Say it with emotion, with seriousness. Say it until your mind starts to believe that no amount of discomfort will stop you. Because when your mind believes that you become dangerous to doubt, you become dangerous to failure. You become unstoppable in the eyes of the world. Some people wait for perfect timing. Some wait for motivation. Others wait until they feel ready. But you can't afford to wait. Time doesn't wait for you. Growth doesn't wait for you. The opportunity you want doesn't wait for your perfect mood. Life is always moving. And if you don't move with it, you get left behind. That's the cold truth. And the only way to stay in the game is to show up. No matter what you think success feels good every day. It doesn't. Success comes with sacrifice. With late nights, early mornings, with sweat and pain and silence. It comes with moments of doubt. But you push through it because you know what you're building matters more than what you feel. You keep showing up because you made a promise to yourself. And you keep it not because it's easy, but because it's who you are now. That's identity. And identity is built in those painful moments when you could quit. But you don't. There's a power that builds inside a person who doesn't run from difficulty. That power doesn't come from reading books or watching videos. It comes from experience. From those lonely early mornings when no one sees your effort. From those painful workouts when your legs scream. From those nights when your brain is fried, but you still do the work. That power is earned, not gifted, and it all starts with showing up when it hurts. The more you do it, the more your pain tolerance grows. The more you do it, the more your habits solidify. The more you do it, the more your mind starts to understand that quitting is no longer an option. It gets hardwired into you. It becomes part of your nature. You stop thinking about whether or not to do it. You just do it, because it's what you do now. It's not emotional. It's standard. And that standard was built when it hurt. Nobody is watching you at 5 in the morning. Nobody is clapping when you study after a long day. Nobody is there to cheer you on when you say no to your excuses. But those moments shape you. They carve something inside you that no one can take away. They build a reputation between you and yourself that says, I don't back down. And that kind of relationship with yourself is rare. But it's everything. Because when you trust yourself, you move differently. You walk with purpose. You lead with discipline. And you become a force in the world. So push through. Even when you feel broken. Even when you feel like you've got nothing left. Because you always have something left. There's always one more step. One more action. One more decision to show up. That's what creates winners.
Yes.
Not their talent. Not their resources. But their relentless drive to be there. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. You don't need to feel perfect to make progress. You need to be consistent. That means you do what needs to be done. Whether you like it or not. Whether it's easy or not. Whether anyone sees it or not. That's what separates those who wish from those who win. One shows up. The other waits.
Number 2. Train your mind daily to reject every excuse. Excuses are the soft whispers that steal progress. They sound reasonable. They offer comfort, but they are lies dressed as logic. If you do not train your mind to crush them early, they will grow louder every day. You must build a mind that does not entertain weakness. You must teach yourself to hear an excuse and instantly replace it with action. Not once, not twice, but every single day. The truth is your mind listens to everything you tell it. When you allow an excuse to guide your decision, you tell your mind that quitting is acceptable. You tell it that delay is harmless, that comfort comes before growth. But when you reject the excuse and take action anyway, you train your brain to fight, to endure, to stay alert and committed. That's how mental strength is built. Not by hoping you feel motivated, but by choosing discipline in the face of comfort. You don't need better conditions. You need stronger habits, and those habits are shaped by what you allow. When your mind says you're too tired, say do it anyway. When it says you'll start tomorrow, say start now. When it says one missed day won't matter, say every day matters. You must override the weakness with truth. The truth is that progress is waiting, but it requires obedience, not to your emotions but to your purpose. Every time you catch yourself about to delay or avoid something, notice it. Do not ignore it. Interrupt the pattern. Remind yourself why you started. Remind yourself what it costs every time. You listen to the voice that says later. That voice is not your friend.
It is the enemy of discipline. It is the voice that convinces people to waste years. And you are not here to waste time. You are here to rise. If your mind is untrained, it will look for the easiest road. It will want the shortcut, the cheat code, the break, but the strong mind sees a difficult path and steps into it with purpose. The strong mind knows that excuses only give you regret. You will never look back and feel proud that you skipped the hard thing. You will never admire yourself for backing down, but you will respect the days you showed up without excuse. You will carry that strength into everything you do. People think discipline is built in the big moments, but it's not. It's built in the quiet ones. When no one is watching, when the option to skip is there and you choose to keep going. When you finish the task even though no one would blame you if you quit. Those are the moments that shape you. And they only happen when you train your mind to say no to every excuse. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control how you feel when you wake up. You cannot control how others treat you. But you can control whether you make an excuse or you move forward. That power belongs to you, and you must use it. Not once in a while, not when it's convenient, but daily. You must face the lazy thoughts and break them. You must confront the fears and push through them. That is how the mind becomes strong. Start small, if you must but start. Each time you feel like putting it off, tell yourself this is a moment of growth. This is where strength is earned. Don't argue with the excuse. Replace it. Take the action. Build momentum. Teach your mind that excuses don't win here. Discipline does. The world is full of people who live below their potential because they gave in to every excuse. They said not now. They said maybe later. They said it's too late. And they said it for so long that they forgot what it feels like to follow through. But you are not them. You are someone who decides, who acts, who builds mental toughness one decision at a time. And make no mistake, this is a war. It's not one battle. It's daily combat. Excuses will come back every day wearing a new mask. They will sound like reason, like care, like self-protection. But your job is to strip them down and see them for what they are. Delays, lies, traps. Your job is to catch the thought and say no. I don't accept that. I have a standard now. And excuses are not welcome. Write it down if you must. Keep it visible. A reminder that every excuse accepted is progress delayed. Remind yourself that you do not owe your comfort anything. You owe your purpose everything. That kind of thinking trains your mind to follow the truth, not the impulse. And truth is what creates lasting change. You are not weak because you hear excuses. You are human, but you become strong when you reject them. When you feel the resistance and go anyway. When you act even though your feelings say don't. That is the difference between staying stuck and breaking through. That is the mark of a disciplined mind. You will never always feel like it. Stop expecting to. Instead, expect that excuses will come and you are ready for them. You've built a mind that doesn't bow to excuses. A mind that stands tall in discomfort. That follows through without needing praise. That finishes what it starts, because it was trained to. Mental toughness is not born. It's earned. Through small daily choices. Through the repetition of rejecting every excuse until discipline becomes your nature. Until there is no debate. Only decisions. Only direction. That is what makes you dependable. That is what builds self-respect. You stop letting yourself down. You stop needing others to push you. Because you now lead yourself. Excuses will promise you comfort and give you regret. They will offer ease and steal your pride. Every day you allow one, you train your mind to doubt your own strength. You weaken the muscle that moves your life forward. But each day you shut down the excuse, you become sharper, clearer, bolder. You build momentum not by wishing but by choosing action over delay. You are responsible for the voice in your head. No one else controls it. You must decide what kind of thoughts you allow. If it pulls you away from growth, you shut it down. If it pushes you toward effort, you let it speak. That is mental leadership. That is how you own your path. That is how you train your mind to stop listening to weakness and start demanding excellence. Excuses will not vanish on their own. They will always try to return. You must be stronger than your feelings.
You must set a rule that excuses do not get a seat at the table, no matter how valid they may sound, no matter how tired you feel, no matter how tempting the easier path looks. You set the rule, and you follow it daily. That is how consistency is born. The more you train your mind this way, the more natural it becomes. One day you wake up and action is your default. You no longer argue with the voice. You shut it down instantly. And that mental speed saves you from days and weeks of delay. That clarity puts you ahead of everyone. Still waiting to feel ready. This is not about being tough on yourself. It's about being honest. About choosing responsibility over temporary comfort. About building a life you're proud of. A mind that doesn't fold. A character that stands firm. All of that begins when you train your mind daily to reject every excuse.
Number 3. Demand more from yourself than anyone ever could. Most people settle because no one is pushing them hard enough. But the ones who rise are not waiting for someone to challenge them. They set the challenge themselves. They hold themselves to a level of personal standard that goes far beyond what anyone else would expect. When others say that's good enough, they say I can do better. When someone gives them approval, they still ask if they gave everything. That is the mindset of growth. That is what separates those who reach their full potential from those who only touch the surface. When you demand more from yourself, you stop looking for validation. You stop needing to be reminded. You stop waiting for others to cheer you on. Because your goal is not to impress anyone. Your goal is to become the kind of person who cannot tolerate less than their best. That inner demand, that fire from within, is what makes you unshakable. You don't need a coach yelling at you. You don't need fear to drive you. You need clarity about who you want to be, and the standard that version of you lives by. You must decide that your effort is not measured by convenience. It's measured by your will to stretch, to push, to go where it's hard, because that's where strength is built. Most people want things easy. They want shortcuts. But when you demand more from yourself, you build a mental edge. You begin to operate in a way where nothing feels too far. You don't just do what's required. You go beyond it. You show up earlier. You stay longer. You pay attention to the smallest details. You hold yourself accountable when nobody's watching. Every time you feel like you've done enough, pause and ask, could I have gone further? Could I have focused more? Could I have made a better decision? That kind of thinking creates self-awareness, and self-awareness leads to responsibility. The world doesn't need more people who do the minimum. It needs people who push their own boundaries. People who are not afraid to expect excellence from themselves, because they know that anything less leads to regret. This is not about being hard on yourself. It's about being honest. If you know you can do better and you choose not to, that choice will stay with you. Not because someone will punish you, but because you'll know deep down that you compromised, that you played small when you could have played full out. That feeling doesn't go away. The only way to silence it is to keep raising your own standard. You don't get stronger by doing what's easy. You get stronger by going further than you thought you could. That extra rep, that one more hour, that final push when your body says no but your purpose says yes. That is where confidence is earned, not from words but from effort. You begin to trust yourself when you see yourself consistently choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. You begin to respect yourself, not because you're perfect but because you refuse to settle. Start paying attention to how you talk to yourself. When something feels difficult, do you lower your standard or raise your focus? When things aren't going your way, do you blame or do you build? When you fall short, do you hide or do you rise again with more fire? These small moments reveal who you are. And more importantly, they shape who you become. You don't need someone to come rescue you. You don't need someone to constantly tell you what to do. You are capable of becoming your own leader. That's what demanding more from yourself means. It means making promises to yourself and keeping them. It means showing up even when the reward isn't immediate. It means doing the right thing because you respect yourself too much to do anything less. You were not put here to coast through life. You were not born to watch others win while you stand on the sidelines. But to rise, you must take ownership of everything. Your time,
your energy, your choices. No excuses, no waiting for perfect conditions. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who always had the most support. They're the ones who demanded more from themselves even when no one believed in them. There will be days when it feels like nothing is working. That's when most people give in. But that's also where greatness is created. If you can learn to keep pushing when it's hard, to keep showing up when there's no applause, you will build something inside you that cannot be shaken. And that something is self-respect. Self-respect is not given. It is earned through consistent action, through doing what you said you would do, through becoming someone you admire. Look around at the results you have. If you are not satisfied, don't wait for change. Become the change. If the results aren't what you want, raise your standard, raise your level of effort, raise your sense of urgency. Nobody can do this part for you. But once you decide that you will hold yourself to a higher level, everything changes. You move different. You think different. You live different. Every day is a test. Not a test to impress the world. A test to prove to yourself that you are serious about your goals. A test to see whether you will choose comfort or character. You may not pass every day, but if your intention is to keep raising your bar, you will rise higher than most people ever dream of. That's what separates the disciplined from the average. The world will expect just enough from you to get by. You must be the one who says that's not enough for me. You must be the one who looks in the mirror and asks for more. Not because you hate where you are, but because you know you can grow, because you respect your potential too much to waste it. That inner demand is the beginning of a powerful life. You do not need to be loud to be relentless. You don't need to shout your goals to the world. You just need to keep raising your own expectations. Quietly, consistently, that silent demand will drive you to levels most people never reach, because they were too comfortable accepting average. You're not here to be average. You're here to be better. And better comes from demanding more. Every single day, there is something inside you that wants to rise. But it needs your permission. It needs your leadership. Stop waiting for the world to push you. Start being the one who leads the charge. Start being the one who says, I don't settle. I don't skip. I don't shrink. I demand more. And I back it up with action. The moment you take full responsibility for your growth is the moment you stop living below your power. There is no one holding you back, except the limits you've accepted. Refuse to accept them. Refuse to be less than your best. Raise your vision. Raise your effort. Raise your life. Demand more. Every single time.
Number 4. Stand up and act no matter how you feel. There will be mornings when you wake up and everything in your body tells you to stay down. Days when your energy is low, your thoughts are heavy, and nothing in your heart wants to move. But if you're serious about building a life of strength, you have to make a decision that your feelings will not be the ones in charge. You cannot let your emotions dictate your actions. You must teach yourself that no matter how hard it feels, you will get up and you will act. You don't need motivation to begin. You need to make a choice that movement matters more than mood. Most people wait for inspiration before they move, but inspiration is unreliable. It comes and goes. It shows up sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't. If your consistency depends on how you feel, you will fall apart when things get uncomfortable. Discipline does not rely on feeling ready. Discipline shows up even when nothing in you feels like showing up. That's the mark of someone who is serious. They don't just act when it's easy. They act when it's the hardest. What changes your life is not what you feel. It's what you do when you don't feel like it. Every time you push through a moment of resistance, you get stronger. Every time you act when it's easier to wait, you grow. You create momentum by refusing to sit in stillness. You create progress by doing what needs to be done. Regardless of your internal state, your mind will tell you to rest. Your body will ask to stay down. But the choice to rise must come from your decision to lead yourself. Real growth begins the moment you move through discomfort. The mind is tricky. It tries to protect you from pain by convincing you to wait, to delay, to stay put. But those are just habits, and habits can be changed. The more you choose action, the more you train yourself to take ownership of every part of your life. It's not about being in the mood, it's about doing what matters. You get stronger by showing yourself that you are not a prisoner of your feelings. When you choose to act despite the resistance, you prove to yourself that you are in control, that you can feel tired, discouraged, overwhelmed, and still do what needs to be done. That kind of power cannot be given to you. It must be earned through repetition, through choosing movement over comfort, through refusing to let a bad day become a wasted day. You are not your mood, you are your actions, and your actions are what define your progress. Start simple. When your alarm rings, stand up right away. When your plan says train, go train. When it's time to study, focus. These may sound small, but each time you act without waiting to feel like it, you teach your mind that action comes first. You are showing yourself that the standard is not emotional comfort. The standard is progress. The standard is strength. The standard is consistency. You will not always feel powerful. You will not always feel ready. That's normal. But you can still take the next step. You can still make the next move. You can still finish the task. That ability to act in the face of resistance is what gives you an edge. It separates you from those who only act when the mood is perfect. They live in cycles of delay. You choose to live in cycles of growth. People often wait for motivation to come before they take action, but they have it backward. Action creates motivation. The moment you start, you create energy. You create focus. You create a sense of direction. But you have to begin. You have to choose to start without waiting for inspiration to carry you. Most people never reach their potential because they never learn how to act without feeling perfect. You can be different. You can be the one who rises not because you feel like it, but because you made a decision to rise anyway. Think about your goals. Think about where you want to be. Do you really believe you'll get there by waiting to feel right every day? No one who achieves anything worthwhile lives that way. They act when it's difficult. They act when it's silent. They act when they're unsure, because they understand that the path to growth is paved with days you don't feel like moving, but you do it anyway. You're not meant to be ruled by your emotions. You're meant to lead them. That doesn't mean you deny what you feel. It means you acknowledge it and still take the right step. Courage is not the absence of difficulty. Courage is action in the face of difficulty. There will be moments when it feels like too much. But if you can stand up and act anyway, you build something in yourself that cannot be shaken. Over time, your actions become habits. Habits become identity. If your identity is built on action, you will not fall when challenges come. You will keep moving. You will keep growing. And eventually your emotions will begin to align with your actions. But it starts with that first move. That decision to rise when everything tells you to stay down. That moment defines you. You have everything you need to move forward. You just have to stop waiting for the perfect mood. You have to stop letting your feelings run the show. You're stronger than that. You're capable of more. But you'll never know unless you push yourself to act when it's hard. That's the real test. Not how well you perform on your best days, but how consistent you are on your worst days. Every person who's ever achieved something great had days where they wanted to quit. They had moments where they doubted themselves. But they kept acting. They kept showing up. Not because it was easy, but because they refused to let their feelings control their future. You can do the same. You can build that kind of resilience. But only if you stop giving your emotions the final word. Your future does not belong to your mood. It belongs to your effort, to your discipline, to your ability to rise even when it's hard.
Yeah.
That ability is in you right now. You just have to decide that your actions matter more than your feelings. The minute you do that, you begin to take back your power. You stop reacting and start leading. You stop hesitating and start building. Action is always the answer, not because it solves everything right away, but because it keeps you in motion. And motion leads to clarity. It leads to momentum. It leads to results. But it all starts with one move, one choice, one step forward. No matter how you feel,
That is the power of a decision. That is the strength of character. That is how you build a life that lasts.
Number 5. Repeat the hard things daily until they feel normal. The things that challenge you the most today will eventually become part of who you are if you choose to face them again and again. In the beginning, everything hard feels like a mountain. Waking up early, sticking to your routine, pushing through resistance, showing discipline in small decisions. These all feel unnatural when you first start. But repetition is how you rewire your life. The more you do something hard, the less power it holds over you. The discomfort shrinks, the hesitation fades, and the habit becomes part of your identity. Discipline is not about doing something once with intensity. It's about returning to it every single day until the act is no longer a struggle, but a standard. You create strength not through big gestures, but through consistent effort in difficult areas. You don't master anything through avoidance. You master it through exposure. When you take the hard road repeatedly, your mind and body begin to adapt. You stop overthinking it. You stop trying to negotiate your way out. You simply begin to execute without debate. That's how you know you're growing. You know you're growing when the things that used to drain you now feel like your starting point. You build that through daily pressure, not overwhelming yourself with impossible demands, but showing up every day with intention and effort, even when it's small, even when it's quiet. Because the moment you choose to face the hard thing again, you begin to chip away at its power. Over time, it stops being intimidating and starts becoming normal. Most people back down when something feels too difficult. They let discomfort become the reason they retreat. But if you learn to lean into it, if you choose to stay with the hard thing longer than your old self would have, you begin to change your limits. The first time is always the most uncomfortable. The second time feels slightly more familiar. The third time starts to build momentum. By the 20th time, the very thing that used to scare you has now become something you handle with calm and control. This process cannot be skipped. You can't fast forward through the repetition. You cannot replace it with motivation or shortcuts. You have to show up for it. You have to earn your growth through experience. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. It will test you. But that is the point. Growth does not come from ease. It comes from your willingness to face resistance without retreating. You will be tired. You will be tempted to delay. But those are the moments that define who you become. Not the easy days, the hard ones. The beauty of repetition is that it turns chaos into structure. When you repeat something hard every day, your mind stops seeing it as a threat. It starts recognizing it as a normal part of life. And once that shift happens, you gain control. You stop fighting the process. You stop looking for ways to escape. You simply begin to live in that space, and you find strength you didn't know you had. Your confidence builds because you're no longer running from what challenges you. This is what it means to build character. It's not about what you do when everything feels smooth. It's about what you choose when nothing feels easy. Anyone can act strong when life is calm, but real strength is forged when you keep doing the hard things without needing a reward. You don't chase comfort. You chase growth. And growth lives in repetition. Not once, not twice, but daily. Over and over again, there will be voices in your head trying to convince you to skip a day, to take it easy, to avoid the task. But if you listen to those voices, you stay stuck. You remain at the same level. You repeat the cycle of starting and stopping. But when you push through that inner noise, when you keep doing the thing that feels heavy, you rise above your old patterns. You stop quitting on yourself. You stop needing everything to feel good before you move forward. Start with one thing, one hard thing you've been avoiding. Make it part of your day. Don't skip it. Don't justify missing it. Just do it every day. Whether it's early in the morning or late at night, whether you're tired or motivated, whether people are watching or no one sees it. That's how it becomes normal. Through action, not thought. Through repetition, not planning. Through movement, not motivation. You don't need to do 100 things. You just need to pick one and do it with discipline. That's how progress starts. That's how habits are built. And over time, that one thing leads to another. Suddenly your mornings look different. Your evenings feel structured. Your mind becomes clearer. You gain trust in yourself.
Not because someone told you to believe, but because you showed yourself what you're capable of. The path is simple, but it is not easy. It's filled with resistance. It demands patience. It tests your resolve. But it also builds a life of direction and meaning. You will no longer be controlled by what feels difficult. You will not panic when life gets hard. You'll know how to move through it, because you've trained yourself through repetition. You've taught your body to show up. You've trained your mind to focus. You've built something stable in a world full of distractions. Your mind remembers what you do most. If you avoid challenges, your mind will adapt to avoidance. If you face them, your mind adapts to courage. Repetition is not just about physical habits. It reshapes your mindset. You become someone who is no longer afraid of hard work. Someone who walks into the storm instead of away from it. Someone who acts with purpose, not preference. This kind of transformation only happens through daily effort. Through choosing the same hard task again and again until it becomes second nature. That's what sets high performers apart. Not just talent, not just passion, but the decision to stick with the basics until the basics no longer feel hard. To treat discipline like breathing. To treat structure like freedom. To wake up and know what must be done, and to do it without delay. This doesn't come from one big moment. It comes from 1,000 quiet ones. From showing up again and again and again. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need more repetition, more practice, more commitment. You have to make the hard things a normal part of your day. Not something you avoid. Not something you fear. Something you embrace. Because you know what it creates in you. You know that behind every hard thing is a new level of strength waiting to be built. And when that hard thing becomes normal, you know it's time to choose the next one. Because your life will always reflect what you're willing to do repeatedly. Choose wisely. Choose what builds you. Choose what sharpens you. Repeat it every day until it becomes who you are.
Number 6. Decide once and follow through without looking back. A strong life begins with a firm decision. Not a temporary wish. Not a passing emotion. A decision that is final. A decision that carries weight. You make that kind of decision when you're tired of circling around the same problems. When you're tired of breaking promises to yourself. When you're ready to stop starting over. One decision. That's what changes everything. The problem most people face is they keep deciding over and over again. They keep opening the door to doubt. They keep looking for a better time or a more perfect plan. And every time they do that, they weaken the original choice. When you decide once, it means you close the door to other options. It means you don't go back to debating it every time it gets hard. You don't allow your mind to keep negotiating. You settle it. You say, this is what I'm doing. And then you act like it's non-negotiable. That kind of clarity brings power. It frees your energy. It sharpens your focus. You stop wasting time wondering what to do because you already know. The only thing left is the follow-through. And that's where most people quit. Not because they can't do it, but because they haven't truly decided. Follow-through is where you separate the talkers from the doers. It's easy to say you're committed when things feel exciting. It's harder when the days get quiet and the results are slow. But if your decision is strong, you won't stop just because the road gets tough. You won't change direction every time you feel uncomfortable. You'll hold yourself to the original decision because you know why you made it. You'll stop needing motivation because you've replaced it with direction. The people who get things done are not the ones who always feel ready. They're the ones who make a real choice and then live in alignment with it. They act as if there is no other option, because in their mind there isn't. They move forward with discipline. They don't wait for things to be easy or exciting. They just keep showing up, because they made a decision that matters more than how they feel on any given day. The moment you start looking back, you invite hesitation. You start questioning your path. You begin to wonder if you made the right call, and that's how people get stuck. They don't fail because they chose the wrong goal. They fail because they keep revisiting their decision every time it hurts. But strength comes from standing firm, from choosing to move forward no matter what doubts creep in,
from trusting that the hard road you chose will shape you into someone stronger, clearer, and more capable. You don't have to know every step. You don't need the full picture. You need commitment. You need to say, "This is what I'm doing," and then give it everything you've got. You need to remind yourself every day that you are not going to give up. You need to stay rooted in that decision even when no one else understands it. Because this is your life. These are your standards, and this is your journey. Most people live with hesitation because they never finish anything. They start one thing, then get distracted. They chase comfort. They follow whatever feels easiest in the moment. And then they wonder why they don't feel proud of their progress. They wonder why their confidence is low. It's because they keep walking away from their own choices. They never build enough follow-through to prove to themselves that they can be trusted. But you can't lead your life with hesitation. You can't build momentum when you keep hitting the brakes. You need to decide and then move. Not with perfection, but with consistency. Not with speed, but with direction. The discipline comes from removing the option to quit. You give yourself fewer exits. You give yourself less room to escape. And instead of doubting, you focus all your energy on action. There is a peace that comes when you decide fully. You stop carrying the weight of constant choices. You stop spinning in circles trying to figure out if this is the right move. You just move. And that movement builds belief. Every step forward makes the next step easier. Every completed task builds your identity. You stop being someone who plans and talks, and you become someone who follows through. That's where the real transformation begins. You may not always feel ready. You may wake up tired. You may have doubts in your mind. But if the decision is real, your actions stay the same. You don't need to feel perfect. You need to be honest. Are you committed? Or are you just interested? Are you willing to show up after the excitement fades? Or are you still waiting for life to feel easier? The answer to that determines your future. It decides whether you keep building or keep starting over. Decide once. Then work. Let your actions speak louder than your fears. Let your effort drown out the noise. Show yourself that you are the kind of person who means what they say, not by shouting it, but by proving it. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need applause. You need to follow through on your word. And that requires a kind of strength that doesn't get talked about enough. The strength to do the hard thing long after the feeling is gone. This is how discipline is born. You make a commitment, and you back it up every day. You keep going when it's inconvenient. You stay focused when distractions show up. You don't second-guess yourself every time something goes wrong. You stay grounded in your choice. You remind yourself why you started. You don't need to keep revisiting the decision. You've already made it. Now you build the life that matches it. When you stop looking back, you begin to move faster. You free yourself from regret. You stop entertaining the idea of quitting. You save your mental energy. And that gives you more room to grow. It gives you clarity. It gives you power. You begin to believe in yourself in a way that's unshakable. Because you know you are showing up with everything you have. Not once. Not twice. Every day. Whether it's exciting or boring. Whether you feel supported or alone. You won't always get it perfect. But that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're learning. It means you're human. But what matters most is that you don't abandon your choice every time you feel discomfort. You don't start looking around for an easier way. You stay with the path you chose, and you see it through. That's what builds confidence. That's what builds pride. That's how you become the kind of person who keeps their word. In a world full of distractions, the ability to follow through is rare, but it is powerful. And it starts with a single decision. One that you treat as final. One that you act on with daily focus. One that you protect from fear and doubt. This is how you build a meaningful life. Not through endless planning. Not through waiting for the right time. But by deciding once and following through without ever looking back.
Number 7. Fight the urge to quit with ruthless self-discipline. There comes a point in every person's journey when the excitement fades and the pressure rises. That's the moment when the temptation to quit shows up. It doesn't come loudly. It sneaks in quietly. It whispers reasons. It tries to justify your doubts. It starts to sound logical. You hear thoughts like, "You've done enough," or "You can come back to this later." That's the moment you must be more than motivated. That's the moment you need ruthless self-discipline. You don't argue with the urge. You don't let it negotiate with your standards. You cut it off and act. Because the longer you entertain the urge, the more it grows. Self-discipline is not about being perfect. It's about staying firm when your emotions shift. It's about standing tall when your feelings push you to sit down. It's about choosing your principles over your impulses. That takes strength, not just physical but mental and emotional. It takes clarity of who you are and who you are becoming. The urge to quit will keep testing you, and it will come strongest when you're closest to breaking through. That's why you need to develop a mind that doesn't run from pressure. A mind that can say no to comfort when comfort is the very thing holding you back from greatness. Discipline means waking up on the days you'd rather sleep in. It means working on your goal when nobody is watching. It means keeping your commitment when you don't feel inspired. Most people think discipline is boring. That's because they haven't stayed with something long enough to see what it builds. Discipline isn't punishment, it's power. It's the internal authority to tell yourself what to do and then do it. No emotion required, no approval needed, just consistent action based on what you said matters most. If you want to be the kind of person who finishes what they start, you can't leave the door open to quitting. You can't play nice with excuses. You can't make quitting an option. You've got to develop an inner standard that says, no matter how I feel, I don't stop. And you've got to practice it every day. Not once a week. Not only when things are easy. Every day. You train yourself like a warrior. You train your mind to resist comfort. You push yourself to stay the course. Not because it's fun, but because your future depends on it. You don't win the battle against quitting once. You win it every morning you don't hit snooze. Every time you take action when your body says stop. Every time you choose structure over chaos. You win when you stay locked in while the world around you is falling apart. That's not easy, but nothing worth having is easy. If it was, everyone would be living at their highest level. They're not. Because when the pain shows up, most people fold. But you can be different. You can be someone who digs deep when others retreat. Ruthless self-discipline is not cruel. It's love for your future. It's respect for your potential. It's the way you protect your dream from your weaker impulses. Because here's the truth. Your mind will often try to protect you from hard things. That's how it works. But you can't allow that protective voice to make your choices. You need to be the leader of your own life. You need to set the tone for your behavior. You need to push back every time your comfort zone pulls you in. It's not about being in the mood. It's about being in control. You won't always want to stick with the plan. That's normal. The people who get results aren't the ones who always feel like doing the work. They're the ones who understand that how you feel cannot drive how you act. You can be tired. You can be frustrated. You can even be scared. But you still show up. Because if you give in to quitting once, it becomes easier the next time. You train yourself every time you choose to act despite resistance. You don't build confidence from what you say. You build it from what you do. Every time you follow through, you gain respect for yourself. Every time you shut down the urge to quit, you strengthen your identity. You're telling yourself, I am someone who sees things through. That's not just a statement. That's a habit. That's a pattern you can trust. And once you start living with that kind of discipline, you stop doubting who you are. You stop second-guessing your capacity. You know what you're made of, because you've seen yourself act when it was hard. The world around you may not demand this level of discipline, but your goals do. Your future does. Your inner peace does. There's a kind of pride that only comes from being dependable for yourself, from knowing you won't betray your word just because things got difficult. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop hoping things will get easier. You embrace the fact that the path you're walking takes strength, and then you build that strength every day. Don't wait for the feeling to quit to disappear. It won't. Don't wait for circumstances to be perfect. They won't. Stop giving your energy to thoughts that don't serve your mission. Interrupt them. Replace them. Say to yourself, this is what needs to get done today and I'm doing it. That's how you create momentum. That's how you prove to yourself that your goals matter more than your emotions. You don't give the urge to quit any power. You acknowledge it, and then you move forward anyway. If you want to lead yourself, you need to be firm. You need to remove options that don't lead to growth. That means closing the door on quitting. That means turning down the volume on all the noise that tells you to take it easy.
It means reminding yourself every day that you are not here to play small. You are not here to live soft. You are here to rise, to improve, to stretch your limits. That requires effort. That requires discipline. That requires the ability to say no to every urge that tells you to settle. There will be days when quitting feels like the easier path. But easier does not mean better. Easier does not mean worthy. What matters is the path that makes you better. The one that challenges you to grow. The one that forces you to become disciplined, focused, resilient. And you become that by choosing it again and again. By refusing to step off just because the road is uphill. By staying the course even when no one is clapping for you. That's what ruthless self-discipline looks like. It's not loud. It's not flashy. But it's real. And it works. You're not just training your body. You're training your character. You're building a self-image that says, I finish what I started, and you build it brick by brick. Action by action, decision by decision. Every moment you feel like giving up is a chance to become stronger. Every time you say no to that urge, you rise. Not just in results, but in identity. You stop being someone who hopes and starts being someone who executes. And that shift is what creates a powerful life.
Number 8. Do the work every day, even when you doubt. There will be moments when doubt creeps in. It doesn't matter how many times you've succeeded, how strong your track record is, or how much you've proven to others that you can accomplish things. Doubt doesn't care. It doesn't wait for the right time. It will hit you when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you feel lost in the journey. The question is, what will you do when that doubt shows up? The people who get ahead aren't the ones who never doubt. They're the ones who keep working, even when the doubt is louder than their confidence. That's what separates the dreamers from the achievers. Dreamers wait for everything to feel right. They wait for perfect timing, for the stars to align. But achievers? They act in spite of how they feel. They push through the uncertainty. They put in the work every single day, not because they have all the answers, but because they trust the process. You don't need to have it all figured out. In fact, no one ever does. If you think there's a moment when the doubt will disappear completely, you're mistaken. Doubt is part of the human experience. It's normal. The question is, how will you respond? Will you let it control you? Or will you decide to act anyway? Because the only way to defeat doubt is to work through it, not around it. When doubt hits, you might feel like the work is pointless. You might question if you're making any progress at all. You might look at your goal and feel like it's still too far away. But that's the trap. The people who succeed aren't always the most talented or the luckiest. They're the ones who are willing to do the work when it feels uncomfortable, when it feels uncertain, when every part of them tells them to take a break or give up. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They create it by putting in the work, day in and day out. It doesn't matter if the work doesn't feel fulfilling at times. It doesn't matter if you don't feel motivated to do it. Your feelings will mislead you if you let them. Discipline isn't about being motivated all the time. It's about knowing that you can't rely on feelings to guide you. Your success will come from your ability to stick with your actions, even when your mind is filled with doubt. It's about making the choice to move forward, even when your heart isn't in it. Each time you choose to do the work, even when you doubt, you're building mental strength. You're proving to yourself that you can overcome the resistance. Every task you complete is a victory. Every day you show up. Even when it's tough, you reinforce your commitment to your goals. The real power lies not in the times when everything is going smoothly, but in the times when it's hard. When it feels like nothing is working, that's when you need to work the hardest. You're going to have bad days. That's inevitable. You're going to have days when you question whether you're on the right path. There will be moments when you're tired, discouraged, or frustrated with your progress. But here's the truth. Doubt isn't a signal to stop. It's a signal to dig deeper. When you're in doubt, that's when your character is truly tested. That's when you prove to yourself that you can keep moving forward, even when you don't feel like it. The key is to make the decision in advance that you will do the work regardless of how you feel. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect mood. It's about making the decision to show up every day, no matter what. You commit to the work, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You commit because you know that consistency over time produces results.
That's where the magic happens. Results don't come from just wishing for them or hoping for them. They come from putting in the effort when no one else is watching. When the world tells you it's okay to rest. When you feel like quitting. Do you want to be someone who creates results, or someone who just dreams about them? If you want to create results, then you need to act when you're tired, when you doubt, when you feel like nothing is working. You need to do the work even when it feels like the progress is too slow. Keep moving forward. Keep putting in the time and effort. The effort may not always feel rewarding in the moment, but trust me, it's building something. It's building your character. It's building your habits. And more than anything, it's building your future. In those moments when doubt tries to stop you, remember why you started. Don't let the doubts distract you from your purpose. Your goal is worth the effort. It's worth the sacrifice. It's worth the struggle. And the more you push through the doubt, the more you will realize that it's not the work that's hard. It's the decision to keep going when you don't feel like it. It's the resistance you face in your mind that you have to overcome. And every time you choose to continue, you get stronger. You build the mental toughness required for success. When you doubt, you are being given the opportunity to strengthen your resolve. Every day you work despite the doubt. You prove to yourself that you are capable of so much more than you thought. You show yourself that you can rise above your feelings, your fears, and your insecurities. You prove that your dreams are bigger than your doubts, and your commitment is stronger than any obstacle. So don't wait for the doubt to disappear. Don't wait for the day when it feels easy. Do the work every single day, especially when you doubt. It will not only get you closer to your goals, but it will also shape you into someone who is unstoppable. When you do the work even when you're unsure, you're building a foundation of success that can never be shaken. You're setting yourself apart from the ones who give up. And one day when you look back, you'll see how the consistent work you put in during the toughest times was the very thing that brought you your greatest rewards.
Number 9. Shut down emotions that try to slow you down. Emotions are a part of being human. They are real, they are powerful, and they can be incredibly convincing. But the truth is that emotions, especially negative ones, can sometimes hold us back. They tell us that we're tired. They tell us that it's too hard. They tell us that it's okay to rest when we know we still have work to do. And while it's important to acknowledge your emotions, it's just as important to learn how to shut them down when they try to slow you down. We all experience moments of frustration, doubt, fear, and exhaustion. It's natural. But here's the thing. Those emotions are not the truth. They don't represent who you are or what you're capable of. They are simply feelings that come and go. They don't have to dictate your actions. And the key to success is not allowing those emotions to control your decisions. You've probably heard the phrase, follow your heart. But when it comes to achieving your goals, sometimes following your emotions is the worst thing you can do. Emotions can be misleading. They are not always aligned with what's best for you. In fact, they can often pull you in the opposite direction of your goals. How many times have you felt like skipping a workout because you were tired, only to regret it later? How many times have you let frustration stop you from completing a task, only to realize you were closer to success than you thought? It happens all the time. And the key to overcoming this is learning how to shut down those emotions before they take control. The first step is recognizing when your emotions are trying to hold you back. It's easy to get caught up in the feeling of exhaustion or disappointment. But the truth is that those emotions are temporary. The work that you need to do is what will move you forward. The emotions will pass, but the results you achieve by pushing through them will last. The next step is to shift your focus. When emotions are trying to slow you down, take a step back and remind yourself of your bigger purpose. Think about why you're doing what you're doing. What is your long-term vision? What is the outcome that you're working towards? When you focus on the end goal, you can begin to shut down the temporary emotions that are trying to distract you. Your mind needs to understand that the emotional feeling is just a passing cloud and not the truth of your journey. Another way to shut down emotions that try to slow you down is through action. Sometimes, the best way to combat negative emotions is to take immediate action. When you feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or doubtful, instead of giving into those feelings, take one small step forward. This could be as simple as starting the task you've been avoiding, taking a small step toward your goal, or just moving your body to shake off the negative emotions. Action is the antidote to stagnation. It pulls you out of the emotional state and forces you to focus on what you can control. One of the most powerful ways to control your emotions is by creating habits that prevent them from derailing you in the first place. If you consistently train your mind to do the work no matter what you feel, the emotional resistance will gradually lose its power. When you create a routine that forces you to show up every day, you're less likely to be influenced by fleeting emotions. A strong routine makes the work automatic. It takes the decision-making out of the equation, leaving less room for emotional disruption. Think about successful people in any field. What separates them from the average person is not their ability to feel good all the time, but their ability to act even when they don't feel like it. They understand that success isn't about waiting for the perfect mood to strike. It's about doing what needs to be done, regardless of how they feel in the moment. This is the kind of mental toughness that you need to develop if you want to make real progress. You don't have to like every task you do. You don't have to feel excited about every step of the process. In fact, you won't, but you can choose to do it anyway. You can choose to act even when you don't feel like it. That's the power of discipline. That's how you overcome the emotions that try to slow you down. You take control of your actions, regardless of how your emotions try to sway you. If you give in to emotions every time they show up, you will constantly find yourself stuck in a cycle of starting and stopping. You will make progress, but it will be slow, uneven, and inconsistent. The key to creating momentum is to break that cycle. You need to act even when the emotions say otherwise. You need to push forward when you feel like giving up. Every time you do this, you build the habit of showing up, and the emotions begin to lose their grip on you. Understand this: your emotions will always be there. They're part of who you are, but your ability to succeed lies in your ability to manage them. You need to learn to control your emotions instead of letting them control you. It's not about eliminating your feelings. It's about choosing which ones you give power to. Your emotions can't stop you unless you allow them to. When you train yourself to act despite how you feel, you unlock a level of power and productivity that few people ever experience. Every time you choose action over emotion, you reinforce your self-discipline. You prove to yourself that you can accomplish great things, even when the emotions are working against you. You build the kind of strength that's unshakable. And over time, the emotions that once seemed so overpowering will begin to lose their hold. You will become more resilient. You will become the kind of person who doesn't wait for everything to feel right. You will become someone who acts, no matter what. Shutting down emotions that try to slow you down is not about being cold or heartless. It's about being strategic and focused. It's about knowing that the path to your goals is not always going to be easy, but it will be worth it. You will face challenges. You will face obstacles. And you will face emotions that tell you to stop. But in those moments, you have to remember that your goals are bigger than your feelings. Your future is bigger than your temporary discomfort. The work is worth it. The results are worth it. And every time you shut down those emotions and keep going, you're one step closer to the success you've been working for.
Number 10. Take full control of your choices without hesitation. Every single day you make choices. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you are faced with decisions. Some of these decisions are small, like what to eat for breakfast or whether to go for a walk, but some of them are huge. Some of them shape your future, your success, your happiness. The truth is, your life is a direct result of the choices you've made. And if you want to change your life, you have to take full control of your choices without hesitation. The first step in taking control is understanding that you are the one who decides, no one else. Not your circumstances, not your past, not the people around you. You are the one who chooses how to react, what to believe, and where to focus your energy. The choices you make today will determine your future. So it's time to stop letting others or external factors dictate your actions. Take responsibility for your choices and take control of your life. So many people live their lives letting the world happen to them. They let their emotions dictate their actions. They let fear, doubt, and uncertainty control their decisions. They hesitate because they're afraid of making the wrong choice, or because they're waiting for the perfect moment. But the truth is, there is no perfect moment.
There is no right time to take action. The perfect time is now, and the only thing that's holding you back is hesitation. Hesitation is the enemy of progress. Every time you hesitate, you lose momentum. Every time you delay making a decision, you're giving up control. And when you give up control, you allow other forces to make the decisions for you. You allow fear to control your actions, or worse, you allow inaction to take over completely. The longer you wait, the more you allow your dreams to slip further out of reach. Now, taking control doesn't mean that you won't make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But here's the thing, mistakes are part of the process. You don't learn without making them. You don't grow without falling down and getting back up again. When you take full control of your choices, you're not giving yourself the chance to avoid mistakes. You're giving yourself the chance to learn, adapt, and improve. You're allowing yourself to take risks and step into unknown territory, which is where real growth happens. There's power in making decisions and sticking to them. It's easy to get caught up in overthinking, to analyze every option until you're paralyzed by indecision. But here's the truth. Overthinking is just another form of hesitation. It's a way of avoiding the responsibility of choosing. When you make a decision, you own it. You take responsibility for it, and by doing that, you take control of your future. There will be times when your choices aren't popular. People will judge you. They may not understand why you're doing what you're doing, or they may think you're making a mistake. But here's the thing. You don't need anyone else's approval to take control of your life. You don't need anyone else's permission to make the choices that are right for you. People will always have opinions, but your life isn't meant to be a reflection of their opinions. Your life is meant to be a reflection of your decisions. It's meant to be a reflection of your values, your goals, and your vision for the future. And that's something only you can define. Taking control of your choices means trusting yourself. It means believing in your ability to make decisions, even when you don't have all the answers. It means being confident enough to trust your instincts, to follow your intuition, and to make choices that are aligned with your vision, even if they don't make sense to others. When you take control of your choices, you stop looking for validation outside of yourself. You stop second-guessing yourself, and start owning every decision you make. One of the hardest things about taking control of your choices is letting go of the fear of failure. We're taught to fear failure, to avoid mistakes, and to stay comfortable. But in reality, failure is a natural part of the process. It's a sign that you're pushing yourself, that you're challenging yourself to grow. Every successful person has failed. Every person who's ever achieved anything meaningful has faced setbacks, obstacles, and disappointments. But what sets them apart is that they didn't let those setbacks stop them. They didn't let failure control their choices. They took control, learned from their mistakes, and kept moving forward. Taking full control of your choices also means knowing when to say no. It's easy to say yes to everything. Yes to every opportunity. Yes to every request. Yes to every person who asks for your time. But when you say yes to everything, you're saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your goals, your priorities, and your vision for the future. You're giving up control. And the more you give up control, the more you allow your life to be dictated by others. Saying no is an important part of taking control. It's about setting boundaries and protecting your time, your energy, and your focus. When you say no, you're not being selfish. You're being strategic. You're choosing to invest in what matters most to you. You're choosing to protect your dreams and your future. And that's one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. It's also important to remember that taking full control of your choices doesn't mean you have to do it all on your own. It's okay to seek help, to get guidance, and to surround yourself with people who support your goals. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. You are the one who decides. You are the one who decides what to do with your life. You are the one who decides where to focus your energy. And when you fully embrace this power, you take back control of your life. In the end, the choices you make today will shape your future. You can't wait for the perfect moment. You can't wait for the right circumstances. You can't wait for permission from anyone else. You need to take full control of your choices without hesitation. The more you take responsibility for your decisions, the more you will shape the life you want, and the more you trust yourself, the more you will accomplish.